Last week, Zubin Mehta met with several colleagues from the Israel and New York Philharmonics at the Shunley West restaurant around the corner from Lincoln Center. Over lunch after a rehearsal, they talked about making music, the two orchestras, and tonight's gala concert. From the Israel Philharmonic Orchestra, Meir Rimon, Assistant Principal French Horn, Daniel Benyamini, Principal Viola, with the orchestra for 32 years, and Chaim Taub, the orchestra's co-concertmaster. From the New York Philharmonic, Nathan Stutch, Associate Principal Cellist, 36 years with the orchestra. Donald White, a member of the first violin section, and Philip Myers, Principal Horn, since he joined the New York Philharmonic 3 years ago.
The horns of the New York Philharmonic have a certain sound.
Right.
You know, the Israel Philharmonic have a different sound. There's no question about it. They can play the same intonation. A solo player can have a little more here, or personality, or there. That depends on the individual. For instance, the violins of Israel sound different from New York.
Is it
More shading.
More shading.
More individual shading goes on. On the other hand, when in a Strauss tone poem, I feel the New York Philharmonic violins would cut through more than the Israel Philharmonic violins. Because of the brilliance of sound. I know that with similar passages in similar works. I'm much more sedate in my conducting with the New York Philharmonic.
In our home.
But with our brass players, if I would be even slightly over exuberant, literally the roof would come down. I mean, our entire brass. Because just orchestras like New York, Chicago, or Los Angeles, these are the ones I know of. You know, they play with such big sound brass. Now, in Israel, I tend sometimes even to ask for more because of the enormous amount of chamber music being played in Israel. It's a more listening orchestra. On the other hand, the Israel Philharmonic takes probably twice as long to learn a piece than the New York Philharmonic does. The absorption of the American musician is so quick and retains more from rehearsal to rehearsal. In Israel, you tend...
Really?
Oh, yes. Much more.
Because that's one of the things I feel.
Well, because you wanted to go faster.
No, it's not the speed, but it's
that's the European quality of the Israel orchestra. That one needs to practice a little more. One needs more session time at a recording. And this is the same thing in Vienna too.
Why is that? Why do they absorb faster than we do? You know?
Maybe it's a matter of concentration. Or maybe it's a matter of, let's say, the first rehearsal in New York, has a higher technical standard. In other words,
more prepared.
The soloists are more prepared for their parts, or they just know them, or passages that need to be worked in string sections, I don't work as much. On the other hand, what comes naturally in Israel is a natural feeling of the style of the music, which in New York one has to reiterate often.
We have seen you conduct great stretches of time, and 20 words, and all by memory. And is it photographic? Is it photographic?
It's part of my... No. Nothing is photographic. Photographic would make me so nervous, because then I would say, God, what's on the next page? Oh, I couldn't do that. No, it is really to know the construction of the piece inside and out. I mean, in this fifth Mahler, at no point am I not conscious of exactly what part of the movement I'm conducting, or where I'm leading the development, or which is the bridge passage coming to what theme, etc. And one has to be also very conscious of important modulations, so that one works them out of the orchestra. Because let's say that a certain, in the basses especially, which are important for modulations, maybe they're not conscious of it at that point. You have to alert them beforehand that, you know, this particular chord is coming out now, and we must go into it.
But the whole art of conducting is preparation.
Exactly. But preparation without contact with the musician really means nothing.
Thank you.
But by the way, thanks for the freedom you're giving also.
Yes, but you know, if it really disturbs my innermost feelings, I say very respectfully, sir, that sounds terrible. You know?
When two orchestras get together, what do they talk about? They talk about conductors.
No,
and the idiosyncrasies.
What about when two conductors meet? What are they talking about?
You know what two conductors talk about? They show off about their solo players. I promise you. I used to meet with Cripps sometime in the lobby of the Imperial Hotel in Vienna. And he was in San Francisco and I was in LA. And he used to talk about his oboe and I would talk about my horn. There were hardly any negative things to talk about because we wouldn't admit that anything's wrong with our orchestras. That's the other way around. It's the other way around.
You're accentuating.
My horn. He used to say, my horn. With Cripps once took me in a taxi, I remember. And he says, you know this place in the Schumann Concerto? Do you know how to conduct this in the third movement? Do nothing. Nothing. You know, all the Cripps stories are adorable because he was such a terrific guy in the end. And he polished an orchestra's performance that
He was a great musician.
Oh, wonderful.
We once did
Another adorable story of Heifetz and Cripps, you know, happened in Buffalo. The Beethoven Concerto. Cripps gave the attack of the timpani, and by the time he played the third quarter, Cripps says, no, that's not good. Take it again. The sound is not good. The intonation is not good. Change the stakes. And at one point, Heifetz started to him and says, if you don't play the second bar, I'm leaving the stage. I just did the Beethoven Fifth with Daniel's orchestra in Paris. He had just played it in America on tour because of... Now, he puts an extra beat between the fermata and the going on. A beat, to me, is a bar, because every beat in the first movement is a bar, you see? So I went to that orchestra now, and I was substituting for Ormandy, because sick, and I was in London, etc., so I went just to help out. And I said, look, I'll be very frank with you, I told the orchestra. I'm going to try to do it the way Daniel did it, but if I get confused, everything will go. Dog. So can I just try it my way? And if it's very uncomfortable for you, I'll do everything. Because, you know, I've been doing 20 years without a break.
Right.
You mean you break after the two phrases, right?
I don't break at all. I go on.
The break, cutting off the fermata.
No, I don't break.
Even then you break.
No, because there's no break. Beethoven has put on the second fermata an added bar.
Yeah.
You see, on the D. On the E flat, it's a straight fermata.
So how do you do it?
On the D,
So how do you do it?
pa 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 pa, ta 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 ta.
Cut off is already-
The cut off is the second one.
It's already in.
Da 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 da.
Watch out, Chaim is in conducting business.
That is right. That's right.
Get a lesson from
Is it true that there are instruments that your orchestra owns?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Many of the instruments that we own the instruments, and
I
we
mean,
give-
great instruments. Great.
For instance, the
Well,
Strat
yeah,
that Chaim plays on was given to the orchestra by sharing. So that basically the orchestra owns, but he has it till the...
Also, a few cellists, Galliano cellists, with the orchestra owns, were given as a donation, of course. We couldn't.
marvelous.
No,
That's
we couldn't
marvelous.
be able to buy them, of course.
Of course, yes.
Here and there we buy instruments, but I mean we couldn't. We are not in this
I
situation where we
smuggled
give.
the brass instruments.
Yeah, but
I'm one of the big smugglers in Israel, because as soon as an Israeli goes there, you know, the customs gets him. As a matter of fact,
next time
to
they'll get
see-
you after they see
to
this.
see, to see the Israel Philharmonic coming into Israel after a tour is a real comedy, because, you know, you have your green section and your red section, and after a 6-week tour,
Everybody
these
goes
people
with the green.
who have bought so much electronic or instruments, they all go through the green section and the customs grabs them. Look what we've done for our country, and we're spreading goodwill, and we can't even bring silk shirts in, or something like that. Well, if I can analyze this whole luncheon, this meeting, the symbolic meeting of the two orchestras, one thing I know, we're going to have a good time playing the Symphonie Fantastique.
Well, I think we're all looking forward to it because it's never happened with us before, and it should be great.
I really feel that this should be a musically important occasion, because Berlioz certainly dreamed of it. You know, you realize New York Philharmonic was the first orchestra played it in America, the Berlioz Fantastique. So there's a slight connection
I'm
of
sure you remember.
sentimentality.
Not quite.
And the manic feeling in this symphony, you know, because it is a symphony of fits and starts. It's paranoid in the sense that you have this very calm beginning, and suddenly you have these incredible chords and the sforzandos and the basses, and it's a man lying with in his stupor of the dope, who doesn't really know where he is, and he keeps on dreaming of this idée fixée of his beloved, and she comes into every movement and every scene, and he could be in the middle of a whole, either in a ball or in the countryside, or he's being led to the gallows, and he keeps on seeing this the image of his beloved, and that in that sense is very programmatic. And I think with the two orchestras it will make much more sense, the contrast, if we manage to play and achieve the pianissimos. Because the fortissimos there's no problem. As a matter of fact, I'm going to request both brass sections not to insist on playing their regular strength, otherwise it might get too much.
We always take it easy.
What? I know that.
I do think the uniqueness is to get these enormous contrasts, because a beautiful pianissimo sound is like from heaven. And to be able to get this contrast.
But you see, even the waltz is a lovely little French waltz, but it begins in a crazy way with these crescendos and going up and down, and the harps giving the sort of heavenly effect. And all of a sudden the waltz goes to a pitch and the beloved appears. And I think the only moment we won't have to rehearse too much is when the 8 bassoons play the march to the gallows.
To the gallows.
We have very special personalities in our bassoon section.
The thing I think is that this will be more dependent on you than it ordinarily is. Because ordinarily, if we're playing with our orchestras, we know what this guy's going to do, and we know what this guy's going to do.
You mean this guy?
No. You know.
No, he's talking about listening in the orchestra.
Yes.
But here, you've got all these people, you don't know what the hell they're going to do, so everybody has to basically come off of you much more.
I know each and every one of you. In other words, somebody suggested to me yesterday, why don't we bring the New York and Philadelphia together at the Dell this summer and do the same thing? I said, no, that's not the same thing. Because here, I have done this symphony umpteen times with both orchestras. I really have a feeling for each one, and I feel they know my signals, and that's why I'd like it to work. Otherwise, you can do it with a pickup orchestra and play like Star Wars. And it's not the same thing, really.
How much room did you leave me?
About 8 square feet.
And yesterday we went to Philadelphia especially to measure ourselves.
Yes. No, basically, it should look like a crossword puzzle from the auditorium, you know, especially on the television screen with the black and white.
So it will chess. I think basically you will be playing with the same guys, you know, because the movements you will be leading, you will be playing with the same players.
No, but next to we will have an Israeli and an American, Israeli American.
Alternates. Yes.
It's kind of look like a checkerboard, or it's no good.
No, especially in the string section, that will be very, very good. To play with a completely new partner. Every string player will have a new partner. I'm looking forward to 18 double basses. Playing that passage in the third movement of the Berlioz. It's very exciting.
What do you look forward to 18 basses? What do you get out of it?
Because when that passage starts, whichever orchestra I'm conducting, it's never enough for me. Because it is so tormenting, it is so robust. You know, the heavens break loose there with the tremolos of the violins. You know, and it's a devilish passage.
You know what the nightmare for that passage for us is? That you would come in on the wrong beat, because it occurs many times.
Yeah, it's not symmetrical.
And it's different.
Yeah.
And the horror of possibly coming in on the wrong beat.
You see, that's the first stand player talking. A middle of the section player doesn't have that problem of the terror of coming in too soon. It will finally be a string sound that we've been waiting for with all this to match these guys. And I'm having 2 sets of bells. And I'm driving Buster crazy. Buster wants to know which one. I said, whoever I point to will play the bells. So be prepared.
But we really are looking forward to this collaboration, because we have never done it before, and we really don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, the thing is,
I'll tell you what, every Israeli will show the New York how to play his part, and vice versa. You can bring it. Could we have some dessert, please?
What was left unsaid in that discussion of 18 double basses is that Zubin Mehta is a former double bass player. This is live from Lincoln Center, an historic joint concert by the New York Philharmonic and the Israel Philharmonic Orchestras, and we'll return with the second half of tonight's program after this short pause.
We'll return with more music in one moment following these notes.